Hello, Sanbonani Dumelang, and welcome to your #1 youth show. This is Expressions right here on SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Kanti kwesiqovula namhlanje is the 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children. Eqatshelwa rhoqo kusukela nge-25 kaNovemba uya nge-10 kaDisemba. It has taken a renewed agency up in South Africa following a series of nationwide protests led largely by amanino Mzansi Africa. These demonstrations Gembukeli have sparked a high-profile femicide cases. Rising domestic violence rates and a widespread sense of institutional failures have reshaped the national conversation on gender-based violence. Sinazo Gembukeli nchukumo ezifana no #AmINext or #Total Shutdown and campus-based anti-gender-based violence campaigns. They have highlighted the depth of anger kwakunye nokunxukuxheka ekwabemi boMzantsi Afrika ingakumbi amanina. We went straight to the ground ukuva kuwe Mbukeli into yoba ngaba mhlawumbe luthini uluvo lwakho, and this is what you had to say.
16 days of activism is not enough because women and children are being abused every day, trafficked every day. So it needs to be done each and every year, full year, from January till December.
If we in the short term, after my pay, ngicala phansi ke manje ngilwa kakhulu ngizosiphatha kahle for leso sikhathi. So into kumele nje every day si embrace.
The government should emphasize this campaign for the whole year. So that time frame is not enough at all.
And I think these 16 days is just not enough with the amount of femicide and GBV cases that are happening in the country. I think it's something that more awareness should be raised on a regular basis.
At this point, maybe they should be thrown in jail. I
think that our government can just put a hand and try to help us. Our police can try to help us through those things. Because I, for one, have been a victim of GBV, but not so many people know that. But it's something that I grew to, let go of, just forgive. And because I know that our justice system will never do anything for us.
Because I believe the government is very lenient when it comes to such. I go harsh to that point to create an awareness, like yeah, this thing is so serious. If you are found like doing such things, uzoba hefty jail time.
16 days of activism, I feel like it's not enough to raise awareness, because it's not just 16 days that women and children face abuse. It's every day.
Nowadays, children and women are abused, and it's not right. So as a man, we have to make sure that we protect children, and we have to make sure that we protect women.
Those are young views. Those are views coming from young people on the ground. And joining me in this very important discussion, we do have Ukatleho Jaro, who is a podcaster for Concerned Citizen. Alongside her is Uneo Iyana Masilela, who is a transformational life coach. Welcome to Expressions. Thank you so much for joining us in this very important discussion, right?
Very well, thank you.
I am good. Katlego, just reflecting on the voices of young people on the ground. Certainly, we are losing, a battle against gender-based violence. Bayachi ndokubana 16 days is not enough ukulwa nalomkhuba. Uthini?
Okay, 16 days of activism is definitely not enough, but what's also not enough is constantly focusing on the government to bring the solutions. The bottom line is that the violence is being enacted by people that we know, by you and me against you and me, right? Now, what responsibility do we have? Oftentimes, again, we always focus on the men that are doing it, but it's not all men that are doing it. So for you as a woman to constantly be finding yourselves in relationships with men that do that, does that not say something about you and your selection of men? So both men and women have a huge responsibility to play, as well as the government, but let's not only focus on the government.
Yeah, I like the point ozanayo kuba uthi ulinina nawe funeka uzijonge into yokubana mhlawumbe, I mean, what version of you is, attracting this particular person who is toxic? And I want to come to you, Iyana, because you are a transformational coach, and I do want to understand, Uti, I mean, from your consultation with women on the ground, what are some of the versions or toxic traits that inina elingazi ukuthi mhlambe alizibile spilling kodwa azifumanise ekulo relationship enjalo?
It's things like, just having the condition that you grow up from a household where you always have to be silent. You're taught to be silent, you're taught to not say things. You know, we come from a generation, like the older generation before us, taught us that, you know, don't say that, don't talk about that, you know. Shh. So even if it happens in the family, if you have to report as a woman to the police or to someone else, you will be, you know, silenced. Yeah. So, you know, it's things like that. So a lot of women, unfortunately, have, you know, conditioned themselves to be silent, to not say anything, to see this as normal, to normalize this GBV and, you know, these acts of GBV, which is unfortunate, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, Katlego, how do we break these generational traumas that seem to hinder us, especially as a Black nation? Because as she's saying that, I mean, we're growing up in homes whereby in noms as til, it's like I way too, especially if you go to traditional household, apho kuzotiwa into ethile ithethwa ikhaya. We saw a hashtag on social media where abantu besifazane were coming out to say that umalume uzbanibani wandenza into ethile but ndathula because lonto yathethwa isikhaya. How do we break those generational cycles and just nje sizikhuphe kuyo yonke lo mkhwa?
Okay. There are two things here. In terms of being silent, I find it a bit strange in some instances that women are saying that they feel that they have to be silent, but in other aspects and other things, for example, the things that they post on social media, they don't seem to be feeling that they have to be silent. In following a person like Sayan Bougie, who kind of, you know, encourages and inspires you to behave in a way that is going to put you in a position that you are a victim, we are not being silent. But in another way, 100%, I agree that there are too many people, especially young children, who are being made to be quiet, all in the name of Ubuntu. Oftentimes, right? As Black people, we don't talk about that. You don't say that about your father. You don't say that about your uncle, because what will people say? And we really need to come out of that culture. That's not true Ubuntu.
And I mean, you also speak about the social media culture. I think, I mean, we're seeing a rise of influencers. I mean, as young people, are we lacking, you know, role models, abazomodela, you know, immorality, so that we also don't find ourselves, not to say that mhlambe uzodrowa inspiration now uyenza, but are we lacking, you know, good role models as young people? And I also want to touch on some of the barriers that women face, especially if bayo reporter izinto ze-crimes.
Okay, firstly, I don't think we lack role models. I think we have a lot of good ones. It's just the spotlight that's being put on the ones that are not influential or that, you know, should influence the younger generation, you know, to basically do the right thing, right? So I think it's, you know, the media and social media, you know, the spotlight is being put on the wrong people. Number two, the barriers, right? It's the defense force, basically. I mean, the SAPS, right? When you go to the police, most often you don't get the protection that you need from the, you know, it's unfortunate that we are not protected by the people that are said to protect us as women, as children, which is very sad. So, because you would go there and you'd find, when you report a case, what happens that you would not get the protection and you would be laughed at sometimes.
Exactly. You know, I saw a comment once saying that in the police station, and I mean, just reflecting on the Madlanga Commission, I think Africa. I mean, General Mkhwanazi, you know, said that, I mean, during his briefing on the 6th of July, there are 121 dockets that are missing. They are not attended to. And we think about the DNA backlog of over, you know, 11,000 cases, meaning that bantu justice 10 years ago, DNA backlog imile. Ithatha ntoni lonto about our justice system.
Okay. Over and over again, we complain about SAPS. Who's ruling them is the government. Yet, over and over again, we vote for the same government. You cannot do the same thing and expect different results. They've proven it. The Ket Matlala case, Madlanga Commission, they have shown us that the police are very able to do what they need to do, but they choose to do something else, something that benefits them. Now, what are we going to vote for in 2026 and 2029? The same people that are doing this to us, and then we complain again, then we march again every single year. That doesn't make sense. Again, we need to take responsibility and say these people are not doing what they need to do, and we need to kick them out through our vote.
And speaking of that, I mean, the NGC is currently underway at Birchwood Hotel, and GBV is one of the things abazibeke kwi-based documents zabo asazi ukuba nizozala nkomoni, but masithi qha kuloo ndawo. We continue with the discussion. What is it that you have to say? Be sure to interact with us on our social media platforms. Inombolo yethu ikhona escreenini uba ngaba mhlawumbe ufuna ukusitsalela umnxeba. Kodwa ngoku masithi qhwi evenkileni. Don't move a muscle. You are watching Expressions. Welcome back. You're still tuning into your Expressions right here on SABC 1. Kanti ke mbukela umxholo walonyaka we-GBV uthi Unite, invest to prevent violence against women and girls. Xela kakhulu ke mbukeli in the need to invest in preventing violence, while specific regional themes such as South Africa's Litsima focus on collective action and addressing root causes like promoting positive masculinity and gender equality. Ukusinceda ke mbukeli sijonge kakumbi sinaye uNokuthula Khumalo, who is a political analyst. Nokuthula, thank you so much for joining us on this very important discussion, all right?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I feel like these are the conversations that we should be having as the youth, as young women. We should definitely be having these conversations more.
That is right. And I mean, we do understand that the NGC is underway at Birchwood Hotel, and the base document is gender-based violence. Earlier today, balaite amakhandlela besisho into yokubana bawalayitela all the victims. And one political analyst uthethe into ebuhlungu esisho into yokubana bephambili pha belayite amanye amakhandlela, abanye babo, they are perpetrators. I mean, what are the latest trends on gender-based violence?
Really, we've seen the numbers go up. You know, we are seeing that a lot of women are being, part of this gender-based violence. And at this point, I feel like the government should really do something. We need to adopt frameworks that will really, help our men. And I think the most important thing is the socialization of men. Like you spoke about positivity when it comes to masculinity. And I feel like a lot of our men need that. And I think mental health is something that our government should be paying attention to. And we need to look at the fundamentals before we can actually try to really come up with, laws that can, take us forward. We need to really look at what is the main problem, what is making men feel the need to do what they're doing to women.
And Nokuthula, speaking about masculinity, over 60% yabantwana bakhula ngaphandle kotata. That is a serious problem. Ethi umntana uye angazi mhlawumbe isiphatho sikatata. Does that contribute to a man manifesting xa seyimdala fumanisa into yokubana unomdlobongela?
Definitely, definitely. I feel like having family households is very important. Having a mother and a father that is present, it turns out to be a good thing for the child, of course. And I feel like we need to encourage our men, especially, that they have to be part of their children's lives, So I do believe that having a father figure in your life is very important as you grow, especially for men. Like when we're speaking about also masculinity and positivity, having a role model. Ekhaya la ukhula khona ubona ubaba, aphatha kahle umama. I think that really does encourage you to become better, And I feel like the problem also is our community. Our young men are growing up to see, abomalume, in the township, benza lezinto, and they grow up thinking, okay, that's normal. This is what should be done.
So the culture now is repetitive. I mean, earlier on you touched on, the frameworks and some of the policies that needs to be changed. We do understand that South Africa has a confidential national register for sex offenders. I mean, how will be it confidential? Because you'd want to see that list public. What's your take on that?
Definitely. I feel like the list should be public. I think that the consequences for offenders actually is not dire. We need offenders to understand that their life will be changed if they are, part of the offenders or like they're part of the GBV. So that list being public is very important because it will, we are going to see really if you are going to be doing all of these things, your life will be altered for life. And I feel like right now, a lot of offenders feel like, what's the worst that could happen? I'll get 25 years probably, and with parole probably I'll get out later. So I think really the list should be, and not only ibe public, or not public, but rather to employers, and we should also be able to get to that list
and that
know
will
the
bring
people we're dealing
shame
with.
to whoever is an offender.
Yes.
And before we look at the comments, because I mean sibhalelwe na social media abantu babhalile. I do want to know, because the president of the country has declared GBV as a national pandemic. Looking at other countries, they are using artificial intelligence. Like, for example, if you look at South Korea, they have installed CCTV footages eziqinisekisayo into yokubana ziyabona zonke izinto ezilwaphulo mthetho. Do you think as South Africa siyasilela, especially when we are supposed to be using artificial intelligence and technology?
Definitely. We are not really taking this as serious as we should, We should be coming up with more, and now, like you're saying, AI technology is there to actually help us move forward, So I do believe that our government is really taking their time. And I always say this, to my colleague, that maybe perhaps we really do need more women in those spaces where decisions that are made by women will really affect women. And I feel like now, like you have said before, that a lot of these men are actually, perpetrators of GBV. So, of course, they're also trying to protect their own interests, So we really need more women that are going to be making these decisions. So I do believe that.
Yeah. And, let's take a look at the comments. One's actually said that we need to have a female president in the country. And one, I remember some of the comments. It's unfortunate that I don't have them on my phone. But because at this time last year, I buried my sister because walahlelwa ezandleni zomntu. And how important is judiciary? We do understand the commission iyaveza kakhulu into yokubana judiciary yethu iyabribwa. There's political interference. There's so much going on. And what is even said, umuntu ohleli ekhaya, justice is denied.
Definitely, justice is denied to a lot of women, and a lot of men. Others may argue, the Green Movement, argued that men are also victims of GBV. So we are being very inclusive, but we know that the most people that suffer are women. So I do believe that our judiciary or our justice system should be doing more. I do believe that really we should go back and really look at these legislations and some of these laws and try to amend them, to focus on what is really going on right now. We cannot be still using laws and legislation from, a couple years ago. We need to be moving with the times. We're seeing that this femicide is really getting out of hand. And what are we doing? Our justice system really, is not doing justice for a normal you and I. You know what I'm trying to say?
And the NPA's annual report, prosecutions zibalulekile and that they should be a priority. But justice, the question is that person being prioritized? Thank you so much, Nokuthula, for joining us. And right, Mugeli, we continue with the discussion. Don't move a muscle. You are watching Expressions. Welcome back. You are still tuning into Expressions. And we still do have our guest, we are wrapping the conversations. We've had, Women for Change recently. Ahead of the G20, a total shutdown. Thousands of men, women, and members of the LGBTQI+, on social media. And the question, Katleho, is what laws exist to protect survivors, victims?
Okay, so we do have laws in place, but as long as you have people that don't want to implement the laws, again, it's futile, like we said about the police. And still on the laws, I think one of the laws that are adding to the problem is the fact that in our laws, we are constantly all about women and the girl child. I think that on its own is also a law that's adding problems. Boy children are also victims. Men are not all victims. And I think in us constantly saying women empowerment, some of the men are being excluded, therefore becoming potential perpetrators of gender-based violence and just being excluded from the whole situation. And I think that on its own is something that we should look at as one of the solutions.
Yeah, and speaking of solutions, I mean, how do we begin that conversation? Like you were saying that we have a lot of organizations that advocate for women, and even among culture yethu, you see amantombazana asiwe ezindaweni ethile anansikwe amatshitshi kananjalo. We also have the initiation of boy children. Xa bebuya pha babuya sibambe umlomo ukuthi hayibo kanti bafundiswa ntoni pha lento bazoba nhlongonhlongo. So this toxic masculinity sikhupha njani?
Like you said, start by having the conversations, even in spaces where these kinds of conversations are prohibited from being had, or, you know, they're shut down or silenced. We need to have, and also call a thing a thing. Don't call a dog a donkey or whatever, and call a thing a thing. If a thing is abuse, if a thing is GBV, if a thing is neglection, whatever the case is, call a thing a thing. And I think also we need to have programs, I think, you know, that in communities, in rural areas, that educate about such conversations, right? And not just talking about things on surface level, but going down to the root cause, right? Like earlier on, you spoke about we should look at the root cause and not at the fruit. So I think that's what we need to do.
The root causes, and I mean earlier on we did speak about the shame that survivors have to bear with. For example, I know most of them, they have given up on the justice system. You know, they will end up having to tell their stories on social media. That's the only time they will get attention again. In social media. For example, earlier on we were touching on the NASCO, that is the law, sexual offenders should not be on the public. So already, as a victim, social media, sitting.
I think we need to, again, the root cause, fatherlessness needs to be dealt with, right, in order to stop this from happening. Empowering women in order to stop, like for example, I did a video this morning where we had women who are saying Ket Matlala is a man with a plan. That shows that we have women whose mind is not right. So that's another thing that we need to deal with, to say, no, that's not what you should be pursuing. Again, we have politicians who are going on TV, on the Madlanga Commission, telling people like Ket Matlala to inspire young boys and young girls, which goes to show again that our political system, or not the system rather, the politicians themselves,
and our mindsets as well. Because I mean, if you're going to be glorifying perpetrators, yet there's someone osakhalela iclosure. Thank you so much, you know, for unpacking this very important discussion. Hopefully we'll have a part 2. Right, thank you so much for joining us. Right about now, Sizonishia Nayagaloko Imed for Christ dancers. Good night.
Asante,